linemen are available. So if they do make him available, he'll be the hottest item out there.
Yeah, that's the guy that I think everybody is going to want. Now let's go to the Cowboys. It's been a rough stretch for Dallas. We know they've lost 3 straight games. Despite the struggles, Jerry Jones gave Jason Garrett a vote of confidence earlier in the week. But then his old friend Terrell Owens chimed in yesterday on the radio. Listen to this.
When I see video of players coming off the field, not even acknowledging the head coach, he's trying to give them depth or encourage them. When I see that from players, that lets me know that they are not with Garrett. All Jerry Jones needs to do is look at that clip. Those players are not with Garrett. And I guarantee you, if he made a change right now, it would probably rejuvenate that locker room. Whoever comes in, if they get rid of him, I guarantee you they may go on a 6-game winning streak.
That's T.O. on 95.7 The Game. Now, this is a really interesting little – I love looking at the faces of you guys. Sometimes you can read, especially you do. You have the most expressive face in television. What is it you're thinking as you're hearing T.O. say that?
Well, I mean, he's just like, oh, if you get rid of the head coach, then all of a sudden things just get going. Listen, I've been a part of a head coach getting fired during the season, and trust me, it is like all hell breaks loose. It is not the ideal thing, and I guarantee the Dallas Cowboys is 3-3. The NFC East is wide open right now. Why would you even have the thought of, oh, let's just move on from the head coach? It's ridiculous.
Look at Graziano's face. Go ahead.
He's in first place. How often do you fire a coach while he is in first place? I get it. He's been there forever. They haven't won enough playoff games. They haven't won the Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera. But to base it on a clip where they're not high-fiving them as they come off the field. I mean, you don't have a history of locker room strife in Dallas under Jason Garrett. You don't hear complaints about the coaching staff from players on or off the record. And talking to people who run that team, and last I checked, T.O.'s ownership stake is still under 50%. The people who own that team, they say they're watching the last 2 games. Obviously, they've come back and they've fought hard. They feel like they play for Garrett. So at this point, he's going to have to make the playoffs and do something there. But he's not going to get fired.
He's going to have to do more than make the playoffs to me, gentlemen, because you look at the only other coaches who are more long tenured than Jason Garrett. Tomlin, Pete Carroll, Harbaugh, Belichick, Sean Payton. They all have been to the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. Those are the only other coaches as long tenured. So winning games is great and all, but not if you're Jason Garrett and not if you're the Dallas Cowboys. I got to see more.
Especially not this year, Graziano. Right. You know Jerry Jones paid Zeke Elliott when he didn't have to.
Absolutely right.
Because this is a Super Bowl.
They have the highest expectations for this year's team, and if it doesn't work out, I do believe it's a significant possibility they make a change in the offseason. But this is a unique situation. This isn't like those other situations. This is a team where the owner stands in the middle of the locker room and talks to the media after every single game, and you have to make a choice whether you want to go to the head coach's press conference or listen to Jerry. And guess what choice you make? You listen to Jerry. There's a lot that goes on in Dallas that a coach would have to be okay with, that Jason Garrett is, and his relationship with ownership is unique.
Can I bring something into the conversation here? And I know that we have the tape pulled. Here's what this reminds me of. This whole, to dap or not to dap controversy that we saw this weekend with Jason Garrett, where the players didn't appear to be, giving him any love. This is what I will always think it reminds me of. This was very early in LeBron James' tenure in Miami when he bumped Eric Spoelstra there. And I was hosting a radio show at the time. You may have heard of it. And he bumps him, and I'm telling you, we spent weeks talking about what that meant. And here's what I think it meant, and I thought it meant at the time. That was LeBron James' nonverbal way of saying to Pat Riley, this guy isn't my coach. I don't want him to be my coach. I want a different coach. And you know what Pat Riley said? Pat Riley said, that coach is going to be here longer than you are. And lo and behold, LeBron James is on his 3rd team since then, and Eric Spoelstra is still the coach. When you allow your coach to be in the final year of his contract, which never happens in sports, and Jerry is doing it here, albeit for the 2nd time.
Exactly.
But you allow that to happen, then you invite this kind of conversation. People are looking over the coach's shoulder directly at the owner.
Jerry doesn't care. The more conversation about the Dallas Cowboys, the better. He's on record about that. So that's fine with him. They know they're under the microscope no matter what. But he loves Jason Garrett. He has always wanted Jason Garrett to thrive and be a successful head coach. At the time of that LeBron James, Eric Spoelstra clip, Jason Garrett was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That's how long he's been there. They have a lot invested in him, as he said the other day.
It is true. Look, it's remarkable when you think about it. I mean, a guy in Jerry Jones who used to be viewed as sort of Steinbrenner-esque in terms of his being impulsive has now stayed with Jason Garrett a very long time. Now, Acho, I want you to go over to the wall because he's going to point something out for us here that I think is interesting, because everyone will look to Lincoln Riley as the potential successor to Jason Garrett should the Cowboys decide to make a coaching change. And so what I'd like you to do, Acho, if you will, is take a look at what Lincoln Riley's legendary offense is. What does it actually look like, and how would it work in Dallas if this were to come to be?
Well, Cowboys, whether next week, next month, or next year, here is the man that you want to call head coach, Lincoln Riley. I introduced to you the tape of Lincoln, and everybody knows what he has done in Norman, Oklahoma. Well, Lincoln, one day, that could be your quarterback, and that will be your star receiver. But for right now, America, I show you what he does with exactly who he has. He has Jalen Hurts right now and CeeDee Lamb. This is versus Lincoln's biggest game last season against the Texas Longhorns. Well, that linebacker's off of number 2. Lincoln Riley knows that linebacker's off of number 2. But right now, his number 2 is no longer the running back who you just saw. His number 2 is streaking down the field, but his eyes are on his former number 2, the running back, Jalen Hurts. Easy money. That's like stealing candy from a baby, and just like that, CeeDee Lamb takes the ball all the way to the end zone. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. Acho, Lincoln Riley's a college coach, man. Those college gimmicks don't work in the NFL. Well, I was watching tape on Sunday in the NFL, and this is what I saw. What Lincoln Riley did on Saturday, Kyle Shanahan and the 5-0 49ers did the exact same thing on Sunday. Now again, Sunday, going off of number 2, that outside linebacker, he has him. And just like that, a guy's coming in motion. The outside linebacker, he's focused on the running back, but the running back isn't who he has anymore. He actually has that wide receiver. Well, they run the exact same play. The only difference is they don't execute it. So again, what Lincoln Riley did in college successfully, NFL teams are already trying to do. So Cowboys fans, stop wasting your time. I think you just go ahead and make the move.
That's extremely well done. That's Emmanuel Acho with a look at what might be coming up. Meanwhile, let's get back to some other news from yesterday. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell revealed at the conclusion of the fall owners meetings that a 17-game regular season is part of the talks in the CBA. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
We've had very fruitful discussions on it, discussing the positives and negatives, the changes to the game that we've made over the last 10 years, which I think are really important as it relates to the safety of the game and how we're preparing and practicing and training our players. And I think those changes have made a significant impact in a positive way. And so that is something that we'll continue to discuss, and it may or may not be part of whatever we ultimately decide.
Now, that is a huge change, right? A fundamental restructuring of the sport the way we know it and have known it now going back to the late 70s when they went from 14 to 16 regular season games. Dan Graziano, take us inside this a little bit, the stuff the fans care about. How realistic is this possibility and what will it mean?
It's very realistic, but they have to get the players to buy it as part of this collective bargaining negotiation that's going on right now. The next couple of weeks are very important. Even though there's 2 seasons left on the CBA, they want to get it done this year. Both sides want to get it done this year for a variety of reasons we can go into at another time. But what people need to know is, yes, the owners want 17 games. No, they're not all unified on that, nor do they know exactly how it's going to work or what it's going to take financially to get the players to agree to it. The players want a larger share of the revenue pie in the next deal. The question is, how much more would it take to get them to agree to that 17th game?
So the first thing I will think of when I hear that is that people are going to be up in arms about player safety. We live in a time where player safety is of the utmost importance. Why are you laughing when I say that, Damian Woodard?
Because if you got money to throw at it, then it doesn't matter. Players say, that's why I'm laughing at this whole thing. If this whole thing goes through with 17 games, don't talk to me anymore about player safety. I don't want to hear it anymore because the players would have given in to the money factor. Okay, so it's not. To me, it's not about that. I'm just a traditionalist. I love the product as is with 16 games. I don't want to see 17 games.
I'm with you. But you played 12 years in the National Football League.
Yes.
If it meant more money, would you have been in favor of, would you have voted for adding a game to the season?
Yes.
Think about how.
Over the course of a 12-year career, that's basically adding 3/4 of a season to your tenure in the NFL as you know it, right? That's 12 games out of what.
Greeny, I came into the league with my eyes wide open, with knowing what the residual effects of the game could happen to. Hey, got to compensate me somehow. So the money it is.
It's a lot more money, right? I mean, if you go from 47% of all revenue to 49%, you're talking about 2% of $16 billion. I mean, that's a significant, it's like the back to school, Rodney Dangerfield. In our defense, it was a really big check. I mean, that's it. Everything's got a price.
If you're replacing a preseason game, then I'm all for it. Because to Wood's point, like, if you throw a player some money, you best believe he's going to catch it. I promise you that. But if you're not, if you're not doing that, then I'm not for it at all.
You're not for it because of the player safety element of it, or you're not for it because it fundamentally changes the sport as we know it?
Because of the player safety, it's not the players' jobs to look out for themselves. Remember, they're working for the NFL organization. It's the NFL's job to look out for a player, even if greed overrides a player's health. So to me, I'm not for it because of the player safety element first and foremost.
All right, we'll see. Again, there's so many reasons that I think people will be skeptical about this. But to D. Wood's point, if it's a really big check, then it probably will wind up happening. Want to see something spectacular? Vince Carter is just about as old as I am. Jay Will, take us through what he does right here.
Greeny, he's 42 years old. He ain't trying to hear no smoke. He's not trying to go in there and get hit. He's going to shoot jumpers. And all I saw last night was him shoot jumper after jumper, and the Knicks kept going every under damn screen. Like, seriously, don't go under a screen. Go over the top, forcing a drive. But that's VC right there.
Vince Carter still doing it at that age, and we'll see where it gets from here. We got a big hour still coming your way on Get Up, including Bradley Beal. The contract extension, great news in Washington, terrible for a lot of other teams around the NBA. Jalen will give his thoughts on that and more. And speaking of impacts, the Rams added Jalen Ramsey. Hurt another number of NFL teams in the process. Who did that affect? We'll answer that question and more. Get Up.